filling in. We're back with another week of BSL, and this week of BSL is just really special, isn't it, Naoki?
Oh, it's so special. This group is so stacked. You don't know how excited I am for this group because it's like incredibly stacked. And then tomorrow, I'm playing, so I will not be casting. But hopefully, we're gonna make it out into the round of 16. I'm the last American, so we got to make it.
Yeah, I was gonna say you are representing the American hope. Well, the United States hope, because of course, as part of America,
Yeah.
we do still have American hopes, and that is TT1, who's playing today from Canada, which is part of North America. So maybe we can do everything it takes to at least have some American representation there. And it's gonna be cool because, like you said, this group is so stacked today. Because not only is TT1 been playing Brood War for just forever, we've also got Gorniech, or Not For You, who's also been playing for, I think, I want to say 15 years, something crazy like that. So some real big old school players coming in here, and I just really cannot wait to see who's going to come out on top, because I think like it's just so hard to predict. Like, maybe there's a hierarchy, but I was reading the Team Liquid preview for it, and it's just like, well, yeah, I don't know. Basically, anybody could win today.
Yeah, when I saw this group, like literally everybody can win it. No, normally, if you had these players in other groups, you would say they have maybe like 90 or 100% chance to make it out. Maybe not first, but at least second. But now, players like Dandy, who is still the favorite, I think, there's a really good chance he gets knocked out. It's not a guaranteed win here. Everybody can win. Like, Gorniech is crazy. We saw him be basically a superstar in the ladder tournament on Heartbeat. TT1's amazing. He's consistently high out on the ladder. I think we had him versus True Touch and NA versus EU, and he took out True Touch, who has gone deep every single season. And then Yeti also is a very good player. So yeah, I'm ready to see some upsets here.
Yeah, I think, it's hard to call it an upset when both players can win, but I think regardless, it will be surprising which players do advance, because all of them are super skilled. So, I mean, I just want to watch the games. It's going to be kind of a long day. I was really surprised because I looked at the format for BSL Season 6, and I was like, okay, well, yeah, GSL style groups will get through it. But like, there's a potential for 15 games every day, so you guys are really getting your money's worth out there. And of course, a lot of games between amazing players like the ones here in Group B is just going to make for a lot of really good games of Brood War. So I'm ready to just go ahead and get into it. Let's take a look at the maps for today's series. I usually think that the maps will probably look, or the map pool will look pretty similar, with maps like Circuit Breaker and Eddy, or In the Way of an Eddy, being picked almost every single time. But at least if this game, our first game, goes all the way to 3 maps, we'll get a chance to see Heartbeat, which is just kind of a strange map that I don't get a chance to watch all that often.
Yeah, Heartbeat was played in one of the ladder tournaments with BSL. It's an interesting map. It's pretty standard, but the island does create some crazy plays. We saw Gorniech
Yeah.
going for drops, taking a 4th base very fast to Zerg. So it is standard, but that one island can change the overall game dramatically. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Hopefully we get to game 3, because we've had Heartbeat a couple times, but it never reached game 3. So I'm hoping we get there.
Me too. All right, well, I am ready to go. So if we can have our man behind the scenes, of course, the organizer of BSL Season 6, Zero, is going to be doing all of the observing and kind of admitting behind the scenes. So, of course, a big thanks to him for helping make all of this possible. Of course, a big thanks to everyone for coming out and watching BSL Season 6 this season. I'm ready to go, so I guess we can just go ahead and get things started with game number 1. This is going to be on Circuit Breakers, like it said on the screen there a little bit earlier. And yeah, I don't know if you have any predictions here, Nyokin, but at least for my money, it's A, hard to choose. B, Danny's already won BSL a couple seasons ago, and Yeti is like the titan of team tournaments like STPL. So I'm maybe leaning a little bit towards Dandy, but it's hard to root against Yeti because I think he's the best performing player in STPL. So he's just so good.
Yeah, not sure what to expect, but I'm ready to get into it. So let's go if we're ready.
Okay. Let me just make sure that everybody's Ready to go? Yeah, I can hear the countdown. So here we are, ready to get into our first game of Group B, BSL Season 6.
Love you guys.
All right, well, here we are, spawning on the map, Circuit Breakers in the upper left-hand corner in the purple. This is Dandy from Clan Soul.
And in the top right, we've got one of the Polish Protoss powerhouses. It is Yeti.
Love the alliteration there, Nyokin. Also, a perk of casting with Nyokin is that not only is he able to offer a lot of Terran-specific help, assistance, and guidance, but also he sets the latency for me so I don't have to do that when we get into our replays. So, looks like we're having a little bit of slow-mo mining here for a second, but I think everything's going well.
Yeah, hopefully the lag clears up. It's weird that we're lagging in a replay, but yeah, hopefully it goes away. So we talked about what to expect from these players. Now, I think Dandy recently, can't remember what I saw him in, but Dandy was going for a lot of gasless expands, Terran versus Protoss. And he had this really sick one where he scouted 2 gate and ended up going into 2 racks to stop a potential gateway cannon rush. Now, I don't think Yeti's the type of player to do that, but I did play Yeti on the ladder recently on Eddie, and he liked to go for a lot of zealot pressure into Dragoon play, so that might be something he pulls out here, especially versus somebody like Dandy, who has shown gasless play recently.
You know, it's always weird when gasless play happens because, especially if you can get rid of the probe early, which can be kind of hard to do. It's not a way like when you're going for like a 1-1-1 style versus Zerg, or like here where you just get gas early and start to tech. You know, it gives you a lot of options. But when you go gasless, it's sort of like this like one of either two things can happen. Either you have, you know, ecoed a little bit too hard early on, and you wind up losing to things like either, you know, proxies or 2 gates that you don't scout quickly enough, or you are able to get that early advantage, and then the Protoss player is just like, well, you know, I'll just limit him to 2 base, which is not a solid strat against Terran players who can stay there for basically forever. So I don't know, I never know what to expect, but certainly it is kind of a polarizing style that you'll need to scout if you are the Protoss player, and Yeti has not sent out a scout just yet, so choosing to get those extra resources from mining, which is always, I guess, a solid strat.
Yeah, so Yeti is going for a 12 Nexus. That is, I guess, pretty standard. Dandy knows, or like I said, Dandy's been consistently going for gasless. Maybe Yeti doesn't want to put on the pressure. Right here, Eddie's more of a better map if you want to go for some type of Zealot Dragoon pressure. So I think if Yeti's going to go 12 Nexus here, it's because he's saving that type of play for Eddie. But Dandy, he did go for that gasless expand. He's not going to get punished. He also got lucky to get another first scout, so he sees exactly what's going on. And since he sees there's a Nexus, he can skip the Marines, which is going to allow him to power even harder. If you read some of the pro comments about gasless expand from Terran, they say it's so broken that there's almost no counter. Even 12 Nexus, kind of a difficult counter to gasless expand. So the fact that Dandy scouted him first is kind of a huge win, because everything is just so delayed. He can just power incredibly hard. We still don't see no Marines, no bunker, no nothing.
Well, the other thing is, like, 12 Nexus against Terran is something that's almost extinct out here in Korea after so many Terrans got so good at scouting the 12 Nexus and then just bunker rushing it to kill it almost immediately. That happened over and over again. Last season, KSL, Sharp made it to the finals almost exclusively. I think he had 3 games where he bunker rushed 12 Nexing Protosses and just killed them instantly. And I'm just like, well, you know, at some point you should just stop doing that against these top Terran players. So it can be a little bit risky, but of course in this situation, that's not what we're going to see. But it is going to just allow Dandy the opportunity to just power like a boss. And even still, he's still getting a bunker. So he's really playing honest Terran goodness.
Yeah, so he saw the Zealots leaving, so he's got to get a bunker now, but he was able to delay it quite a while. But did Yeti even scout? I feel like he hasn't even scouted Dandy yet, but look at his build.
No.
Like, he's gone one gate. This is so risky because of what you just talked about. There's often SCV pulls with Marines, and the Nexus just dies quite often. So that is pretty risky from him, but he's gotten away with it, and because he's gotten away with it, probably going to take a third base pretty fast. Oh, that probe just got by. Oh, it's going to get a full scout.
That's so sneaky. You run the Zealot, excuse me, the Zealot forward to tank, and the probe just sneaks right on by. It's like, this isn't dangerous. I'm a probe. Nothing's gonna kill me. He gets all the way into the main, and I guess there's not too much to scout in there, but just seeing the double factory is certainly going to be a lot of information that Yeti has not had. This is the first glimpse he'll get all game long of what Dandy is up to.
Yeah, so even though he didn't see what Dandy's doing, now that he's in, he's gotten off a full scout. And this is a pretty damn big scout because now this probe is going to see that it's 2-fact. A lot of times when you see 2-fact like this, that means it's going to be some type of vulture harassment. You can go for mass tanks, but it's kind of not that common. So if I'm Yeti in this position, I'd be feeling pretty great about taking a third base, just sitting on Dragoons, because you're pretty confident that the vultures are going to come. As long as you can defend the vultures, you're going to be in a phenomenal spot. Also, Danny will be delaying his upgrades, and upgrades are really the backbone of the Terran army. So this was an amazing scout from Yeti.
Yeah, Yeti, I gotta say, his scouting is maybe the probes don't last quite as long as Bisu's, but it's close. It's close. He's able to continue to get a ton of scouting. He's gonna see machine shops spinning, second one being built. And of course, all of this is just continuing to check those boxes in his mind. It's like, okay, I know exactly what to expect, what to prepare for. Maybe there was that momentary sigh of relief when he realizes, hey, I'm not gonna get bunker rush through the big SCV pull, but this is not a position where Yeti can really accomplish a whole lot. You certainly don't want to be putting pressure on right now as the Protoss player.
Yeah, so his probe just died, but it died to a vulture, so he can be pretty confident that this is going to be vulture play, not tanks. No,
yeah,
I really do expect a Nexus to come down pretty fast. He's already got 4 Dragoons, even with more coming. That'll shut down all harassment type play. But meanwhile, this probe is in position like it's going to set up more gates and possibly a Reaver. There's the observatory. But yeah, no Nexus going down. This is, I guess, maybe we need a few more seconds for it to come down, but I am pretty surprised that there's nothing even set up. Another gate, that does surprise me a little bit.
Yeah, because once you commit to this gateway, you're basically saying, well, I am going to invest my resources into attacking units, and for a Protoss player, especially up against a 2-fact, I don't know if I see that reaction very often. I don't know. This is just really interesting because that means that Yeti's third base is going to be not only late, but after he's invested at least somewhat aggressively. And maybe this is a reaction to hold against a solid 2-fact push. But, it's going to be vulture play, so it's not like you're going to be going up against, 3 sieged tanks across the bridges or anything.
Yeah, if this was siege mode, I would definitely like this play more from Yeti. But this is going to work out pretty well because even though he's making more units, remember, Terran's building vultures, and they have to get something done here, which is going to mean his tank count's pretty low. So this follow-up we're seeing a Bulldog from Yeti, and look, if he was to go now, 2 tanks will pop out, but there's really not going to be a third and fourth. So if you can get 6 Dragoons and Zealots on top of 2 tanks in a bunker, that's going to work out extremely well for you. But I like what Dandy's doing here. He's got mines everywhere. He's got his 3rd command center going down. I always find this pretty risky because Dandy didn't really scout that much. And he's already built this command center without really knowing what Yeti is doing. And he may get punished if he takes the low ground and we see Yeti just going for a big commitment to gateway units. This could end pretty quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. With this observer out, of course, you can push through the minefields, and the minefields are something that Terrans use to be able to safely build things like that command center. Saying, well, even if he tries to push me, I'm going to slow him down with a bunch of mines. It's going to take him too long to get over here. I'll have enough tanks in siege mode by then. So no big deal. But especially if you can break out and there's no scouting information here from Dandy, he could be really taken off guard by this big Bulldog. There's not, okay, I think we are finally going to see that Nexus behind this, but he's powered up a ton of gateway units. This is yeah, basically Gateway Man, and we're gonna have him take us by the hand and lead us into, I guess, PvT land. These tanks out front, by the way, are also not sieged, so we are still waiting for that siege mode to finish. If you can hit right now, I mean, ooh, that's such a scary timing.
Yeah, he doesn't have that many tanks. He's even got vultures coming out of his 2 add-ons, so that's going to be even less tanks. But where's that shuttle? I'm trying to. There it is in the middle of the map. If he goes, look what he's got. Like you're saying, there's no siege mode. There's not even a bunker here to delay or mess up the AI. Dandy might barely have enough. There's so many units from Yeti, though.
Okay, finally those tanks sieging up. Ooh, not a moment too soon. This push is gonna come in, but you know, unless you can actually those tanks are pretty clumped. If you just bulldog right on top of those, you can send the shuttle in from the top. I mean, this is still gonna be really rough.
Yeah, so Yeti, I don't think he's going to go in here. There's just too many tanks. They're in a great position. Dandy even pulled. Is he going to go? This is pretty surprising. He's going to go, though. Getting on top of the tanks with those outlets.
Yeah, drop it immediately on there, but the friendly fire's not going to come through because the siege tanks, I mean, sure, they're going to die to the zealots there, but the tanks already killed all the dragoons, so I think this is a pretty solid hold. Actually, 3 dragoons. I thought one more was going to die, but they're all on red health, so these vultures should be able to clean it up.
Yeah, and that was perfect defense from Dandy there. He's got the bunker. He's got the barracks floated. He pulled his SCVs. He knows that all he has to do is just deny this attack. And his 3rd command center is faster than Yeti's. He even got vultures at mid-right denying any probe transfers. So this is perfect. This is exactly what you need to do. And look what he's got behind it. He's got 5 factories already going. He has missed going for the +2 timing, but he may not even be planning to go for it. It might just be Factory Man coming down. And even Dandy hiding a base at bottom middle. That's 100% not going to get scouted.
Holy cow, Dandy is such a big baller. He hangs on, he holds off this push, this bulldog attempt, and the secret base. Oh, man. It's the Terran version of G5, I don't know. But it's certainly interesting to see this reaction, because not only did he take almost a blind 3rd base, he's also going to be taking a base that is going to be at least blind to Yeti for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, and Dandy, he's just exploding with factories. He's at 8 already. I heard a scan go off. Let me check the vision. So he just scanned top base of Yeti. He sees the Stargate going down. He sees the Citadel. But something curious is going on with that cybernetics. It's spinning. So this Citadel may actually be a fake for carriers. But regardless, I'm scared for Yeti either way, because Dandy's just going to max maybe in like 12 minutes. It's going to be crazy for Yeti to stop.
Yeah, if Yeti wants to take a 4th base, like, you know, good luck, man. You are really going to have some infrastructure work to put in. There's still vultures getting through to harass the probes here at this 3rd base. Wow, I mean, Dandy's just killing it all over the place. You know, he doesn't have the biggest minefield out in the middle of the map to kind of buffer at this point, but he is just going all in macro mode. 6 vultures at a time, 2 tanks at a time, starting that +1 armor as well. And ooh, this is just starting to get so scary, because there's nothing Yeti can do offensively at this point.
Yeah, so like I was saying with that Stargate and Citadel, that's potentially going to be a fake, because we see the cybernetic spinning. Dandy didn't see it, but there's that fleet beacon going up in the back of his base. And that makes me even more worried for Yeti now, because we're going to have to wait for the Stargate to finish, wait for the fleet beacon to finish, and Dandy's going for a timing. So really, realistically, when Dandy attacks, there might be 2 carriers. There's definitely not going to be 4. And look at Yeti's standing army. We've got, what, 15 dragoons with not really a big gateway count. I feel like Dandy's just going to steamroll.
Yeah, so if we'd seen Yeti go for the more economic play and try to get that 3rd base up earlier instead of those early gateways, then maybe right now we're looking for a 4th base and another main with a bunch of gateways down there, and you could start to build that sort of wider infrastructure. But instead, the 3rd base was pretty late. He did have it harassed and delayed the mining down there, and so now Dandy really only has to like push the natural across those bridges or from the high ground up north by the 3rd. And wow, I don't know how Yeti's going to hang on here. Like you said, yeah, maybe he's got 2 carriers by the time this hits, but I feel like one of the best counters to carriers is to just hit before they reach that critical mass and not really fight the carriers, but fight the lack of everything else.
Exactly. Carriers really are not very good until you hit critical mass. I think people will say about 6 or 8 is critical mass for carriers. So 2 is really nothing. Now Dandy doesn't have any Goliaths. That could come back to bite him, but he is moving out. He's already up 20 supply. Here comes Yeti though. He sees exactly what's going on. If he can catch these units stuck on the bridge, I think he let Dandy out a little bit too far, and now how do you stop this army?
Yeah, there's no siege mode even from Dandy. He's just going for it. He's like, I mean, they deal higher DPS when they're on siege, right? So you just go for it. And these, I mean, gateway units just cannot stand up against the might of almost 1-1 mech here. He's even getting Charon boosters behind this. So if there are ever carriers, he's going to be totally well prepared. The Zealots run in. They're just going to die to the DPS here, and the Dragoons soon to follow. This is just Dandy steamrolling over Yeti's army in the middle of the map.
Yeah, I think this is probably going to be it. If we had 4 carriers where he could clear out the army pretty fast, then Yeti probably has a good chance of surviving. But since there's nothing out, we have 1 Zealot. Like, Zealots are strong, but they ain't that strong.
This reminds me of that Austin Powers steamroller scene where you can see Dandy pushing, you can see it coming, and he just doesn't stop. And then there's that little bump where he goes over Yeti's army, and he's like, ugh. Well, that is just gonna be a pancaking, man. This is, wow. I mean, Dandy's just so solid. I think going into this game, we didn't really know who was gonna come out on top, but I think after game number 1, this is just so solid. Yeti is really going to have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to game number 2 to avoid something like this, because, I mean, Dandy is just kind of lather, rinse, repeating at this point, just moving across the map and dealing terrible, terrible damage to Yeti's base.
Yeah, and we have 2 carriers out. I think somebody told me that interceptors take longer to build than the actual carrier takes to build. So even though the carriers are here, we've got 4 interceptors out. And the tanks don't even care. They're just sitting here. Nexus is already down. Mid-right, to be honest, could be killed by these 2 tanks sitting in the middle. So a little bit of a misstep there from Danny, but it doesn't matter. Supplies tell the whole story. It's 170 to 100. We've got 8 factories. We've got science facility coming down, so he's going to have that +2 armor and +2 weapon coming in for the Terran unit. So, and he's even gonna lose the probes at the main. Like, there's so many vultures here that the carriers can't be everywhere.
You know what the worst part about this is, Nyokin? So if Yeti goes on to lose this game, he's like, oh man, let me gain some helpful knowledge and insight by watching the replay. He goes into it and he sees that Danny's had this hidden base at the bottom the entire time, and it's just like, oh my gosh, I lost what I thought was a close game, and this guy's got an extra base up on me, and now Yeti's actually gonna lose his 3rd base here as well as his natural. And I mean, I don't know how much longer this game can go on, because as long as Dandy doesn't just die to some surprise like push or drop or something, he's just in such a dominant position.
Yeah, and the macro is incredible from Dandy. He's already caught 12 or 13 Goliaths out. He's streaming across the map now. When you're fighting carriers, my number is generally 3 to 4 Goliaths per carrier. If you have 3 exactly, you're equaling the supply, but you need to win versus carriers. So going up to 4 is a pretty good number. So he's got basically the ideal number to fight the carriers, and that's going to mean that Yeti's going to go down 1-0 because there's just flat out too much from Danny. Even if he can kill the Goliaths, by the time he kills the Goliaths, the tanks and vultures are going to kill everything else.
Wow. Well, I think this is basically just Terran push waiting room at this point. To Yeti's credit, he's going to go for it, right? He's going to try to at least make some push out there and into the 3rd base here for the Terran. And Dandy's going to actually pull back, so this is kind of mission accomplished in a way, stopping Dandy from getting on top of that 3rd base while Yeti tries to retake his natural. But I think as soon as Danny shows up here, this is going to be so difficult to escape unscathed. Yeti's going to try to pull back, but he might even wind up losing one of these carriers.
Yeah, this is a win for Yeti, but I mean, we're Max's Terran, so he's going to be attacking. But it is nice that Protoss got Terran to turn around, because we are at 4. But I look at the Stargates, they're not blinking. It would be different if they were blinking and we could get up to 8 or so carriers. Then Yeti would have a real chance. Maybe not in this game. If it was closer to maybe like 150 supply, he would have a real chance of coming back. But yeah, unfortunately, Yeti just doesn't have the econ. He doesn't have enough carriers again at this point. And Terran, there's just so many, like, his unit comp is perfect. It's a balance of everything. Yeti's desperately trying to buy time. That's exactly what he needs to do. It's just that he doesn't have the econ to even build carriers behind it.
Well, I mean, he's going to try to go for it. Maybe you can deal critical damage here and pull back. But I mean, you were talking about the numbers of a Goliath you need per carriers. It feels like there's just plenty of them here defending this base here. With the siege tanks actually getting several really great shots and the Dragoons on the ground, I feel like, yeah, these carriers' lives are numbered. And in the meantime, even though there's some damage being dealt by Yeti, he's going to lose everything else from this counter push. Dandy is just going to roll over the main and third base, and yeah, I don't know if Yeti can pull this off.
Yeah, I mean, there's no chance for Yeti. He's dead. I mean, Yeti in this position, if he had a little bit more supply, like I said, maybe like 150, to kill this base, he would probably be feeling pretty good. Now, of course, not like base trading, but I mean in the sense that he thinks Dandy is really on 3 base, but we know that Dandy's on 5 base, so this is just like, even killing this base really doesn't matter for Dandy. He's just huge. But yeah, Yeti, there's just nothing left for Yeti. He's at 70 supply. He's essentially not mining carriers. You know, they can't just shoot interceptors for free. They cost money. So if you're not mining, eventually you're going to run out of interceptors. Meanwhile, Tandy hasn't even turned around. Like, that's how confident he is to just stop everything with his production.
I don't know. Right now, Yeti is like the Tauntaun, and Dandy is like Luke Skywalker crawling inside of it for warmth. He's just like gutted it right in the middle, and now he's just crawling inside the main base. And I think Yeti's going to be just about as dead at the end of all of this. I think at this point he might just lose from having all of his buildings eliminated, because Dandy's not going to turn around anytime soon.
Yeah, I think Yeti at this point, we see a pylon at bottom left. I saw a probe was there the whole game, essentially. So I think Yeti suspected that there was a base hidden, but he never found it. So, I mean, clearly Yeti's going to lose this game. I would like him to scout everywhere to see exactly what has happened, see bottom middle, but I don't think that's going to happen. Hope he does watch the replay because, like I said, I think if he had a bigger army, was able to kill the third base, he probably felt like he was in an okay spot, but we see that he was definitely not in an okay spot, even killing the third base.
Wow. Yeah, there was that moment where the first push came through from Yeti. He's invested in those extra gateway units. He tries to bulldog through the tanks. Maybe they just got off a couple of extra volleys, but Danny's just so solid back and home. And then the counter push dealt critical damage, and wow. So far, our Oracle of StarCraft Brood War, not the unit from StarCraft 2, but the ability of BSL feature writer on Team Liquid Tai 2 to predict the outcome of this matchup is going pretty well. I think he did predict a pretty dominant Dandy win over Yeti, but we're not done yet. We've got a best of 3 series, and that means we still have at least one more game coming up. And if we get to that hopeful third match, we'll get to play it on Heartbeat, which is pretty interesting. So maybe you could say anything could happen there.
Yeah, so I'm joining the game now. I'm pretty sure this is not the map. Am I the only one that sees this?
Oh, okay, wow. There's some secrets going on behind the scenes as we try to fix a little bit of our slow. I promise that game was actually made in fastest mode, but it might have seemed like it was maybe faster just because of a little bit of the slowness. So we're gonna try to work on that and fix that up a little bit behind the scenes and get into game number 2, which is going to be on In the Way of an Eddy, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so we are in the way of an Eddy. Now, like I said, I played Yeti recently, like last week, and he did like Zealot Dragoon. Now, based on how the last game went, it seems pretty, at least obvious to me, that going into macro game with Dandy, probably not the wisest choice. So I do expect maybe Yeti to switch it up and be a little more aggressive in the early game.
Yeah, I think when it comes to Dandy, if you let him play the long macro game against you, I don't know how well that's going to work out. Because, I mean, maybe you can say, okay, well, he had a hidden base. He was able to get a faster third than his Protoss opponents. Like, okay, a lot of those made playing that super macro style really effective. But this guy is like one of the highest MMR non-Korean players in the world right now. I think he was like was he like 24-20 or something the other day? I was seeing. I'm just like, I can't even count that high Nyoken. Like, it's just, he's so good. And Yeti, I mean, he's super high MMR as well, but he's never like really punched through that like 24, 25, 500 mark. That just means you're actually such a sick badass. So I'm really looking forward to seeing if Yeti can pull this back, because Dandy just looks super, super solid.
Yeah, exactly. I agree. So I'm ready to get into it. Let's see if Yeti can pull it back here, because if he doesn't, he's going to be out. Well, he's going to be going
Yeah.
to the losers round.
That's right. And of course, yeah, it's on the in the way of an Eddie. So let's go into game number 2.
Oh, there we go. It has fixed. So people in the chat with this turn rate 8 fix, I don't know how you figured it out, but that's pretty slick.
Wow, that's actually so sick. Man, Twitch chat GMs coming through for us. We should just listen to them all. And if you guys have build order suggestions for either one of these players, we're gonna pretend like these aren't replays, and you can actually give us some of your expert advice on what they should do there as well. And I'm sure the players will appreciate that too. So, big thanks to everybody out there for watching, for your advice, and of course for continuing to come back for more BSL. Let's get into game 2. In the bottom right-hand corner, in the teal or malachite color, this is Dandy.
And in the top left, he's down 1-0. It is Yeti. And like you're saying about Dandy's macro just being incredible, that's also been my experience facing Dandy on the ladder. A lot of times I don't know it's Dandy. It ends up being a barcode, but as I'm playing, like he moves, of course it's a different matchup, it's Terran versus Terran, but you can feel it even more in Terran versus Terran, for me at least. Like he moves out and he just flat out has like twice as many tanks as me. I'm like, what happened? Like, where did I go wrong? We're playing the same race, we're playing the same build, but you have literally twice as much stuff versus me. So like he's just out of control with this macro, and this gateway does surprise me a little bit from Yeti. Well, he could still build a Zealot, but I am kind of shocked that he didn't go for Proxy Gate here, especially on a map where you're going to have ramp advantage, where, you know, even if you get Marines facing Zealots, you're going to be shooting uphill often, and then it kind of snowballs really hard, so this is pretty surprising to me.
Yeah, I need to have a long conversation with some of our modern-day map makers when it comes to these maps with low ground mains. Because I've just had so many occasions where maybe you take a bad fight early on. It's especially in PvP because of you know, the way that Dragoons work. But if you get an early game advantage over your opponent and you can like push through their natural, well, like, you know, good luck, man. You're gonna have like such a hard time breaking up this ramp. And I think we got a chance to see a great example last week of what it is to break out of a low ground base up a ramp successfully. But that does not happen all the time. A lot of times it's very difficult if you do fall behind early on. So maybe that's what we could you know, expect if we saw any sort of like 2-gate starts or something like that. But you know, it's still a pretty big map with, I think, a, what is it, 54-second rush distance by ground. It's pretty big. So if you are going to try to put on some early aggression, you're going to really, really have to commit to it.
Yeah, so even though this is not forward gate, this is pretty much what I was expecting from Yeti. Here comes the Zealot. He's even gotten the Dragoon first before range, so he's doing exactly what he did to me on the ladder. I can tell you, when I played him, it did not go well for me. I did not scout the Zealot, which is exactly what's happening to Dandy. He has not scouted the Zealot. He's going to get in here. Everything's going to look normal. Look what he has. He has 2 Marines, 1 Zealot. Yeah, sure, 2 Marines microed correctly, like behind depots, and Rax can deal with a Zealot, but it's going to buy so much time for this Dragoon to get here. If the Marines even take 1 hit, now all of a sudden they're getting 3-shotted or potentially 2-shotted by a Dragoon. So yeah. There's the Zealot. You can't take any hits. What?
Oh my god, oh my god. Is Dandy just going to instantly lose this game? One of the Marines just pops. This is never supposed to happen. He's going to lose the second Marine. This is so bad. Oh my god, he has no units. This is so terrible.
Yeah, so he lost all his Marines. Look, he's even floating his Rax. His Rax now. Luckily for him, this Dragoon stayed in his base and killed the SCV. So he lost the SCV. In his mind, he's probably thinking that's a huge loss for him. But in reality, oh my god, a huge SCV surround on the Zealot.
Whoa! How is Dandy this good? That is about the sickest hold I've seen in a very long time. Nice pylon to block the machine shop from coming down as sort of adding insult to injury. But I thought it was going to be tragic there for Dandy for a second, but that SCV pull was so Gosu.
Yeah, but regardless, he's still scrambling. He's got to get this bunker up. It's not done yet. There's one Dragoon. It's going to take a while to kill it. He's just going to run past the bunker, even kill that Marine. Is it going to get up? So close. One hit.
Oh! Yeah, this is so clutch. Always gets around the Dragoon. Oh, it was very, very close, but this isn't Warcraft 3. The Dragoon's a little bit more slippery than that. So he's still going to try to take this Marine out. One more shot. He gets it again. No way!
Amazing for Yeti, but he's got to be careful. Now, he did realize that the Vulture is not there and smartly has a Dragoon, but it's not on his rip. Don't let it get by.
Is he going to kill this Marine again? He needs to retarget. Okay, so finally a Marine gets into that bunker, but he's already got 2 Dragoons to deal with, and that is just going to be so annoying here. I think he should probably stay past that. He's taking a lot of damage from just that solo Marine, but as long as he denies maybe another one from getting in there, yeah, this is still a great position for Yeti to be in.
Yeah, so both players doing very well under Crisis mode. We got 3 probes killed for Dandy with the Vulture. These Dragoons are going to die, which is a big loss for him, but he's denied so much mining with those SCVs. 4 SCVs were pulled off the entire time. He's killed, I think, all 4 SCVs. He killed like 3 Marines. He's even pulled off more SCVs. So we see supply, Yeti slightly ahead in supply, but his Nexus is a little ahead of the command center for Dandy. So both players just dealing big blows to each other in the early game. But meanwhile, Yeti behind this, again, a second gate with the robotics. This is a pretty safe follow-up. And it's going to work out for him because Dandy's going for a fast second factory.
Second factory is going to come through here, and I think this is going to start to look a little bit like the last game. But for Yeti, I want to find out what his reaction is going to be. He's getting the Robo, obviously. Is he going to go straight into OBS? I mean, I guess he knows that the tech is going to be pretty delayed from Dandy just because of that machine shop block and all the crazy scrambling that Dandy had to do early on. So it is going to play out differently, but I want to see is Dandy just going to go for this?
Yeah, he's going to push because he's got mines being upgraded. He's got 2 factories he can rally across the map. And also you got to think from Terran's perspective. Protoss knows that Terran pulled a lot of SCVs, so a lot of times Protoss is going to double expand. That's what we're seeing here, but Yeti built a second gate before the expansion, so it is somewhat safe, but somehow, again, the macro. How do we have 3 tanks versus 3 Dragoons, and we have 5 Marines, and we have a rallied Vulture? So this is going to be a slick timing for Dandy. I'm not sure if Yeti's going to stop it because the Dragoons, the 4th and 5th Dragoons haven't been popped, and also the Dragoons don't even know it's coming.
No, he has no idea this is about to show up here. Oh, if you're a second too slow at pulling your Dragoons back, they either die to mines, and losing 1 on the retreat here. Finally, a few Dragoons are going to pop out of these extra gateways. He needs to target down these tanks. One of the tanks is going to go down, so a nice pickoff there as he tries to micro back, but he's going to lose another Dragoon. These gateways cannot produce quickly enough. A probe pull needs to come out here to try to take these tanks off. 1 Dragoon in the back is going to stop these, or try to stop the Vultures from getting through. There's still going to be mines, and the mine takes the Dragoon out behind it all.
Yeah, the probes are doing a good job surrounding this tank, but now Dandy has high ground. He's got tanks, he's got Vultures with mines. I'm trying to find Observer. Observer finally pops out, but we don't have any production from Yeti. Floating a lot of minerals. It's not like he has 3 or 4 gate. So potentially Dandy might just sit on this high ground forever, even kill this Nexus possibly.
I mean, thank goodness there's an Observer out to make this a little bit easier to hold out. There's actually 2 Observers. Okay, he's going to be able to see those mines twice as well. But yeah, this is terrible damage from Dandy, pushing through into the natural. Mines being laid. Whoa! Taking out 2 Dragoons, and that's like 2/3 of Yeti's army.
Yeah, so Dandy, he just got a full probe pull. I'm not sure if he killed any probes there, but that's a huge loss. And look at, the micros. Incredible. He's going to even get another Dragoon for Vultures, basically.
Wow.
So this is crippling, and Dandy behind it. We don't see... Okay, well, he started a factory now, but he's got his 3rd command center. And look at Yeti. He's feeling obligated to essentially all in at this point.
I mean, he's going to have to just to survive at this point. I mean, retaking that natural is just going to be so difficult. You're doing it against mines, against high ground, against tanks, and while we don't see, siege just yet, it's still just going to be almost as hard to break up through this gigantic minefield. The Nexus is just about losing its shields. So if Yeti can, come back, retake this, and then use all those gateways to counter push, Maybe, but he's just losing so much to these mines.
This tank, 7 kills, it has 8 health. It's a heartbreaker for Yeti. Like, he's tried to jump on it multiple times. It just gets away every single time. This Nexus is still shut down. These mines that I was expecting to never hit anything have killed multiple Dragoons. They're just buying so much time. Oh my gosh. And what can Yeti do from here? I feel like we've got to put down a Citadel. Once we get all these probes saturated that are not at third, it's Gateway Man time, because I can't see him coming back. It's going to essentially be like last game where he tried to transition out of it and Dandy just attacked and it ended. So that's what I would go for. Gateway Man, maybe Forge upgrades, but it's going to be tough regardless because Dandy's already on 5-fact.
He's on 5-fact. He can even build more now that he has his third base coming up. His economy is insane. There's still vultures running through to harass this third base. He's going to get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, maybe even. Dandy is just really killing it at this point. That hero tank at the end there was really kind of sealed the deal. It's the icing on the cake of what was a very, very strong push from Dandy. So let's see what the reaction is from Yeti. I agree. I think Gateway Man just, build a bunch of Dragoons and go. Do you have any Zealots with this? No, this is just pure Dragoon.
Yeah, he's got to build Dragoons at this point. Really, Dragoons are what you need in the early game. You can't really build Zealots. This Vulture gonna try and get by, but probably get killed. He's going across the map. Well, it's only 4. Did this Vulture make it in? Are we serious? So now Dandy,
Really?
he sees everything. I mean, he doesn't really see anything because there's no. Oh, did he really just see the cybernetics core spinning? And we see Yeti putting down the Stargate. So it's going to be Carrier Man again. But just based on last game, we saw the result of that. When Yeti got behind, Dandy didn't let up the pressure and he just A-moved essentially. So I feel like this is going to be a repeat of game 1 where Yeti, if Yeti had 2 more minutes, I would like this. But that's just not going to happen.
Yeah, I doubt that Dandy is going to give him that kind of breathing room. I think he's going to pull back, get this 3-base economy going, and then just crush him. Especially when you have the luxury of scanning the carrier tech. Oh man, loses 2 Dragoons instantly from that siege tank fire. But yeah, when you know that it's coming and that your Protoss opponent doesn't have 4 or 5 bases, and I think Dandy can't feel much better than this.
Yeah, and he just scanned it, and the fleet beacon went down right when the scan was about to end, but still Dandy saw it. So identical builds. It's identical from Dandy too. We got 8-fact again with this +1 timing. It's not going to be +2. It's going to be 1-1. I hear him unsieging somewhere. Oh no, he is sieging. So again, Dandy probably 130 supply. It's going to be go time again.
I'm just waiting. This upcoming push is just going to be so scary.
It's basically the same push as last game. We're going to have an absurd amount of tanks. We're going to have a lot of vultures. He doesn't have to build Goliaths at this point because he scanned the Stargate timing. So he's just going to delay the Goliaths. And then once carriers actually come out, again, we're going to have 12 Goliaths versus 2 carriers, and carriers flat out cannot fight that.
Yeah, I mean, much less the carriers, the interceptors just are going to get, one shot. There's not going to be that many interceptors. Like you said, they just take so long to get up to that critical mass. So, wow, this is going to be very, very difficult for Yeti to do. I mean, he still does have 3 bases. It's up and running, but maybe not for much longer as he's, how many tanks is this? This is 7 tanks. Just going to push to siege through these pylons and get into that third.
Yeah, like if we look at Yeti's vision, look at his vision. Dandy moved across the map for free. Like we have no idea that he just moved there. Now he's in a position where Protoss can't even engage it. Like this Nexus is dead. We already saw what Mines did on that ramp. It bought time for 5 minutes a time. Yeah, Yeti's got to turn around, so this Nexus is dead. It's exactly like last game. We're down to 2 base. We don't have carriers out.
Yeah, and Dandy, we talked about how scary his macro is. He's pumping off of, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? No, 8 factories behind this. Just going to be churning out so many tanks, vultures, anything he wants. Soon it's going to be Goliaths, and you're just never going to get carriers in time. The fleet beacon's only halfway done.
Yeah, and look at this. Dandy's... I thought he was just fighting this army with pure vultures. He'd probably even win with pure vultures. That's how many units he has. And again, well, essentially the only thing that can save Yeti at this point is if he can get carriers, because he can't stop this army. This time, unlike last game where the third base was at least running for Yeti, once Dandy pushes this natural, we're going to be on one base, which is essentially mined out. This is a huge blunder from Yeti, because I'm looking at his main right now. We have 4 Stargates, but there's no way he could have used them all. So I think everything just fell apart for Yeti. In the early game, it was amazing, but that counterattack from Dandy just... How did it deal so much damage?
I find myself asking that question a lot with Dandy games. Yeti unable to stop that Terran push from getting across the map to kill the third base, now faces the wrath of these Terran tanks in his natural. And sure, there's a carrier out, but this is about the saddest, I guess, couple of carriers that you can imagine. Oh my, this is just so heartbreaking. These Dragoons are getting blown up instantly. Tanks, yeah, maybe they'll die eventually, but not before they deal even more terrible damage.
I mean, the only reason these tanks are dying is because they're killing themselves, because the carriers are still sitting here. I wish that we could see how many kills they have instead of the interceptors building, because to be honest, they didn't kill that much. But yeah, this is going to be the end of Yeti. I can't imagine him coming back. We're on one base this game. The Nexus survived somehow, but it doesn't matter at this point. Dandy's got his 4th base, taking bottom left, 5th base. We've got 8 fact. We've got double upgrades going. So, and he's still 150 supply.
Wait, which Nexus survived?
The Nat.
It looks dead to me. Am I seeing the wrong thing?
Nat? Wait, let me watch the stream. Is the... On my screen, the natural... Okay, I must be bugged out, because on my screen, the natural is alive, but I just saw Yeti transfer probes to his 3rd base, and there's no Nexus there.
Am I...
Okay, so I'm watching the stream. There's a Nexus at the 3rd base.
Yeah, well, it died and was rebuilt. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, on mine, he's long distance mining, so okay.
What? Okay, well, I guess we had this last week when my replay bugged out, or maybe that was earlier. I forget, but it's I think you'll be able to see a similar. Oh, do you have the mineral bug as well? Is the replay just totally bugged for you?
Yeah, I'm looking at the stream. Yeti has 100 minerals. On mine, he has 700 minerals.
Maybe my replay is bugged. Yeah, my replay is bugged too, so.
Oh, yeah, you're seeing the same thing. He's transferring... Oh, no, that's a probe transfer.
Okay, I think regardless, the end of the game will look a little pretty similar, bug or no bug with the replay. And thankfully, it looks like Zero's replay is unbugged. So you guys are getting the authentic experience. But either way, I think, yeah, it's going to look pretty much the same. Actually, no, I think Zero's... Okay, no, Zero's replay is safe. It's saved.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters what we're seeing here. We know Dandy's maxed, and Yeti just flat out does not have the carrier count. So, if Dandy just A moves, the game's going to end. If he catches the carriers, the game's going to end. I'm watching the stream. It looks like he has caught the carriers. So once these carriers go down, it's going to be the no hope for Yeti. He just doesn't have the econ.
Yeah, I mean, to his credit, he was able to get his bases back up in mining, I think. But they're not going to be that way for much longer, because bug replay or no, there's no way to hallucinate this many Terran units. Well, I guess with mind control, anything's possible, but let's just say these are real, and Danny is just going to kind of push to win here. There are more carriers than I expected there to ever be in this game, but it's still only 4, I think. So, yeah, there's just not enough interceptors. There's like 1 interceptor for every Goliath.
Yeah, there's just too much Terran. That he's got like 30 or 40 Goliaths, just an insane amount. Absolutely no chance of Yeti recovering. And there is the GG. So Yeti is going to go out 2-0 versus Dandy. Unfortunate for him, because I did think Yeti had a good shot of taking out Dandy, but apparently not, because Dandy is clearly on another level.
Yeah, no, Dandy, I don't think there were too many moments where Dandy looked like he was feeling too much pressure. Obviously, that bust, or double quotes, like when the early Zealot into Dragoon pressure early on in that game actually looked fantastic. It worked like about as well as you can expect it to be. Maybe you don't lose those 2 Dragoons as Yeti, but wow, that was just... once Dandy stabilized, that counter push where he just picked it up and went, That's so scary. Oh my god, the mines, that hero tank, everything going Dandy's way.
Yeah, it was incredible from Dandy. Like I said, a lot of times when I get in that position, I don't even think about attacking because Dragoons are just so good. But Dandy hit us nice timing. He knew that it's likely for Protoss to double expand, which he did. And he unfortunately caught Yeti. Yeti did float about 700 minerals, so kind of a mistake there. If he had 2 more gates, maybe could have reinforced up the ramp a little bit faster. But regardless, Dandy played well. He looks like a monster. And yeah, he's going to be a force to be reckoned with in the winner's bracket, regardless of who comes out.
Well, that's going to do it for our first series of the night. That means that coming up next, we're going to get a chance to watch a TT1. One of the last North American hopes take on a Gorinich or Not For You, the highest placing non-Korean at that Italian esports LAN that happened a while back. And I think top 3 highest placing Russian player at the most recent International Brood War LAN, that 20th anniversary event. So very, very solid Russian player against the pride of Canada. We'll get that game coming up after a short break. So don't go anywhere. There's plenty more BSL Season 6 Group B when we return.